only about 3 or 4 people from each side, and with a minute or 2 for rebuttal. But I know there are a lot of people here that are passionate about this particular issue. So I think it would only be proper that anyone that would like to speak be allowed to speak. You're allowed to petition your government at any time that you want to, and I think that you should be allowed to do that. Mrs. Davis is the timekeeper. We will allow anyone that would like to speak for or against 3 minutes. Was it 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. She'll be the timekeeper. And what we'll do is we will allow the opposition to speak first, and then we'll allow the people that are in favor to speak second, and then we'll allow moments for rebuttal. Mr. Fisher?
There are 2 issues here on South McRaven Road in front of us today. After we finish with this fair cloth issue, and then some of these folks are still going to be interested in the second issue also. And I'd ask that we just move to the second issue that's on South McRaven Road, also concerning the zoning change from R1 to agriculture.
Okay.
If that would be possible. If that's okay with the board.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. We will do that. We'll take that in the order that we received it. Mr. McQuarrie, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board of Supervisors. We have several cases coming for you this morning. The most pertinent one that you asked me to bring forward first would be case number U1714, Faircloth Rubbish Facility. There's 2 parts to their request. One is an appeal for conditional use to expand Faircloth Rubbish Facility. The property consists of 29.2328 acres located on the south side of McRaven Road between Spring Ridge Road and Sywell Road in District 4. The Planning Commission did meet and denied this petitioner's request. There's an error in your documentation here that you received. The actual vote that is recorded in the minutes is 5-2. There was opposition, and that is the case that is being presented by the Permit and Zoning Division. Mr. Latt Baker is here also, and he will present the case referencing the amendment to the Hinds County Local Solid Waste Plan. A public hearing was held on that issue as well on September 25th, 2012. There are representatives from Faircloth Rubbish Facility here to speak regarding this case, as well as numerous individuals here in opposition to this case that are requesting to speak.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to state that anyone did we have them sign in, or we're going to go another route this today?
No, Mr. President. The audience arrived very early before our sign-in sheet was placed outside. So if I may suggest, if depending on the side you want to start first, just those who would like to speak come to the podium, state their name, and allow them 2 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you very much.
Question, Mr. President.
Question for Mr. Stokes.
Mr. President, I have a lot of people in here. I think you probably need to select maybe 3 or 4, and maybe increase from 2 minutes maybe to 3 minutes, and let those 3 or 4 speak. Otherwise, we'll be here for a long time. We'll have a lot of other people here on some other business with the county.
Okay, we'll just see how it flows from the beginning, and then we'll go from that particular point.
Mr. President, I do have a sign-up sheet from those who did indicate they would like to speak. That was after we had spoken earlier. Right now, there's approximately 8 named on the opposition and 4 on those that are in support of the petition.
Okay. All right.
There may be others, but those are the ones that I have right now.
We'll proceed with your list. So first of all, we'd like to ask for people that are that are opposed to opposition to come to the podium and speak first. If you just wait and call their name.
Mr. Terry Moore,
Mrs. Terry.
Mrs. I'm sorry.
It's quite all right.
Her husband's name is Bill Moore. I called the wrong number there. That's her.
I thought I was supposed to come now. I'm sorry.
All right. Terry Moore, Ken Ruststone, Bill Moore, and Lisa Cheryl are the 4 that I have.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. McWhorter. I forgive you for calling me a man. But, I'm so glad to be here. I thank the Board of Supervisors for being here today. And I want to thank and give our thanks to our support for our governmental city and county officials. I want to thank Sheriff Tyrone Lewis, Deputy Chief Picayune, Captain Martin, Councilman Tillman, our tax collector, Mr. Eddie Fair, and our mayor of Clinton, Ms. Rosemary Altman, for being here today, and other officials that may not have been able to be here. But these people are all in support of us, and we want to thank them for coming and taking time out of their schedules to be here. But I would like to, at this time, take my 2 minutes and paint a picture for you. I want you to think about the corridor coming into Clinton, coming up Highway 18 from, coming up Spring Ridge Road from Highway 18. The trees grow together, and it's a canopy of beautiful trees. You come up, on the left you have Davini Equipment. Their landscaping is beautiful. Their home is beautiful. We have the Hinds County Tax Commission and the trees, and they have trees surrounding, and they have plants and bushes and flowers to make it beautiful. Then you look to the right, and this is what you see. A mountain of rubbish. We're here today to ask you to deny the conditional use permit for extending this landfill. We do have on the borders of Sywell Road, Spring Ridge Road, North McRaven and South McRaven, 257 homes, 5 churches, 21 businesses, 1 county office, and 1 city park. And I would like for the audience to raise their hand if they live within the borders of North McRaven, South McRaven, Spring Ridge, Shadow Lake Subdivision, or College Hills, to please raise their hand. In our meeting where we had the zoning meeting last Tuesday, we had over 60 people there that lived in our area. And we just thank them for support and wanted to let you know about that. But as I continue, I wanted to cover the history of this landfill. In the 1960s, as I said, I've got 30 seconds. Oh my goodness. Beautiful area. Homes were there. Sand filled the place. In the 1970s, College Hills began, early in the 60s, and then Shadow Lake Subdivision, where I live. In the 1980s, the Supreme Court ruled that this would be from commercial to agriculture, and the Department of Pollution, which is now DEQ, found several violations. In the 1990s, rubbish continued to be used, and in 2012, continued violations occurred, and the Faircloth landfill paid $21,000 in fines. My time is up. I will sit down. Thank you for your time, and I do ask you to deny this petition. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before we continue, Mr. McWhorter, protocol dictates that I would recognize the elected officials. I failed to do that, so I want to make sure that I did recognize the elected officials present. We normally do it from the beginning of the agenda, but I see our tax collector, Mr. Fair, our Sheriff Lewis, City Councilman, Mr. Tillman, Mayor Altman here. Mayor Altman is here. Any other elected officials that I did not see or did not recognize? Mr. Clark, the Election Commission is here.
Alderman Heisel.
Okay. Clinton Alderman, Mr. Heisel is here. A long-time friend of Hinds County, Mr. Pepper, he's not elected, but he's still here. Thank you very much. And just wanted to make sure that we recognize everyone, especially the elected officials involved or participating today in this particular issue. Mr. McWhorter, continue, please.
Good morning. My name is Ken Ruckstuhl, and I'm assisting the residents in presenting a case. I appreciate you members of the Board of Supervisors hearing what we had to say today, and I appreciate everyone for coming out. Now, as I start my 2 minutes, I want to point out that the existing Faircloth rubbish facility, by its own application, says that it has 10 years of remaining life in its existing operating area. There was some concern as to whether additional capacity is needed. Well, again, they have 10 years of additional life. There is also an additional landfill operated by the City of Jackson, who I've done some work for them as a consultant, in building a new cell, which is being prepared to be opened and the city has a total of 50 acres down by Byram of Class 1 rubbish capacity, future capacity. Additionally, there's a landfill on North County Line Road, known as the Madison South Class 1 rubbish landfill, which has, I think by its own estimates, over 50 years of capacity in that facility. So there is no urgency to develop new capacity at this time. Additionally, there's also the solid waste management plan has considered that additional facilities may be developed in the future. In fact, some studies have been done on that, on potential candidate properties for new Class 1 facilities within the county. Another point is that, and I'm rushing because I have only a little bit of time here, I'm trying to just hit the high points. The existing landfill operation was developed as a reclamation of a sand mining operation. The new proposed facility has nothing to do with any prior court rulings or decisions regarding mine reclamation. This new proposed expansion would, in effect, be developing a new landfill facility. We don't see that that's necessary. We don't see that there's any obligation to do that. Finally, this Class 1 rubbish facilities are not required to have any financial assurance. The old cell operating at this facility was placed in unlined pits. Right in the middle, right in the sand mine hole was open, and garbage was just dumped into that hole. The potential for contamination is great. DEQ has required groundwater monitoring and air monitoring at this facility, things that have not been required for any other rubbish facility in the state. And if Faircloth were to, at some point, declare bankruptcy or walk away from this site, it would be a financial burden on the county to have to maintain and or clean up anything from that original unauthorized dumping operation. You've already heard a little bit that there have been compliance orders issued by DEQ. The most recent, in February of 2012, Faircloth was fined $21,000 for violations cited in 2011. This facility has a long history of unauthorized waste and compliance violations cited by DEQ. Time's up. Okay. I would like to just enter. I have a written report that I would like to give each of you to have further information to review. I'd like to just enter that into the record if possible. I brought 5 copies. 4, a couple extras that are black and white. I think we got 7 there.
Hey, Mr. McQuaid, you just take care of that. Thank you for your comments. Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Mr. Bill Moore.
Mr. McCarter, can Lisa Terrell go before me, please?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Terrell. I live in Shadow Lake subdivision since 2008. If I may I present something to the board prior to my presentation?
Certainly, that's fine.
Okay, I have 2 letters that I have written in opposition, and I also have photos that I was able to get off. If I may have one of those, that I got off Google Maps. We are not low budget; we are no budget. So I was able to at least take pictures of these and print them off for you. Today, you're being asked to permit what is already one of the largest Class 1 rubbish facilities operating in the state of Mississippi, and you're being asked for it to double in size. If you look at the photo that I have given you, it is marked with the A in the bottom right of the photo. And imagine, if you will, this is a couple of 100 feet high. It's just not a big white spot. So this is visible from all areas of the adjacent properties. Notice that it's all surrounded by green. This is clearly not a suitable area for a large-scale landfill operation. And when I moved there in 2008, I was aware there was a reclamation project going on. I had no inkling or no earthly idea that the Board of Supervisors would approve the expansion of this operation, because it's obviously such an inappropriate site for a large-scale rubbish landfill. And there's a lot been said about the financial impact of this project. But what hasn't been mentioned is we're talking about devaluation of properties, and the studies that I've read related to devaluation of properties in the area. I personally have already been affected. My appraisal that I obtained on my newly remodeled home in 2009, the appraiser took 10% off the very top of my appraisal for its proximity to the landfill, and I'm not even adjacent. We're very concerned about that, because if you've noticed the big white spot in the bottom right of your picture that I've given you, imagine that's going to double in size with the additional 30 acres. And what we're not talking about is the additional 300 acres that the owners of this property, owners of this operation, if you can assume what the business plan is that it will be a 300-acre operation. Imagine the white spot that is marked being 10 times in size. And that's what we're worried about. So again, this will affect all citizens of Hinds County, because if you devalue a large area of properties in the area, and everything surrounding here is commercial and or residential, if we devalue those properties, then the assessments will go down, and the millage rates will have to go up, and all citizens of Hinds County will eventually pay for this. So we beg of you, please do not approve this expansion. It's an improper placement for this operation.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. McCoy, continue, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Moore.
Good morning.
Terry Moore.
Good morning. My wife has been so good. There's no way to do this in 2 minutes, I promise you. I've spent hours of reading documents and everything. There's no way, but I'll give it my best, and I thank you for the opportunity. My wife has been so good about holding this. I'm going to cover this real quick. This area right here is the current reclamation project. I hope you can see this. This orange is where they want to expand. If you notice the blue that has surrounded this is all residential. This is all residential, all down through here. There are 5 churches. This has become Church Road. I mean, this is an area where churches have come up and down this road. Think of the people that don't even live here that are coming up and down and seeing this eyesore. That's not what we want. The other thing I want to point out, since I've only got a few, thank you, honey, you can put that down.
Thank you very much.
The Hinds County Comprehensive Plan. This is supposed to be the guide for how you zone. It says in here, I'm going to read real quickly, it's the basis for zoning. Conditional use permits must conform to the plan, and they must intend to preserve and enhance the natural and man-made environment for present and for the future. The most incompatible use, residential adjacent to waste disposal. The most incompatible. It says it in your own guide right here. So we ask you to follow this guide. Hinds County Comprehensive Plan designates the subject property low-density residential. Ms. Altman's here. They annex all the way up and including part of this site. Their zoning says that it's high-density residential. So the whole area is going residential. Why would this board, when you have approved all along a reclamation, you're covering up a bad eyesore, a sand pit. You voted for that. Thank you. We're not against this company doing that. We want them to do it and do it quick. They said they're going to do it in 10 years. We want them to do it in 1 year. So if you today approve this, it will be in your legacy that you started a landfill in this area that will grow from the acreage it is today around to the rest of their property. These are businessmen. They're not crazy. They know what they're planning. And it'll be a 300-acre site before it's over with. The Supreme Court said it's got to meet one of 2 criteria. One, is there a zoning error? There's been no zoning error. The other one is that the character of the neighborhood has changed to such an extent to justify reclassification, and it must meet both of these, that there are public need for rezoning. Yes, it's changed. It's more residential than it ever was. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Harrington, excuse me, Mr. Wait. Mr. Harrington, continue, please.
Mr. President, there are still 3 other speakers on the opposition. Do you want to hear from all of them?
Yes, if they would like to speak.
As well as, I was just informed that Mayor Altman would like to speak as well. Would you like to go now? Or
Good morning, Mayor.
Hey, good morning. I'm Rosemary Altman. I'm the mayor of the city of Clinton. I will be brief in my comments. This site is the southernmost entrance to our city. Spring Ridge Road is proving to be quite an attractive area for development. It also is important to Hinds County that that area develop. The city limits do run just through the very front of this facility, but nevertheless, it's important to the city as to how this area develops. These residents have been very passionate and very resilient about protecting their property values and protecting the neighborhood, and we want to go on record that while I know all three of these gentlemen who own this facility, they're honorable men, nevertheless, they're no longer compatible in the city. If you choose to grant this, I hope that you'll put conditions on it such that, because of conditional use, you can put conditions on that to make it such that it would have to remain screened, not visible at all from the street. However, I hope that we'll put friendships aside, we'll put partisanship aside, and we'll do what's best for the county, what's best for the city of Clinton, and what's best for this area and these people who have been here and invested in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Mr. Tom Mann.
I'll pass on that. I'll take it, please. Mayor Altman did a good job. Thank you.
My name's Jerry Hall, and I live behind the
If you would state your name again for the records.
I will. My name is Jerry Hall. I live at 1601 South McRaven Road, and Faircloth Landfill has bought the property all the way up to my back fence. I've lived there almost 30 years. I'm not good at public speaking, so somebody can have my other 2.5 minutes. My mouth gets real dry. What I wanted to say, I was friends with Darryl Faircloth when he owned the landfill. He and I dealt with a lot of issues back then. But all it was just an open pit mine. If you had a load of tree limbs, you could take and throw them off in the pit. But after that time, a corporation has come along, and they are whole scale all over Mississippi, bringing trash from construction sites and dumping it in that landfill. They say they've got an open door policy, but they put 18-wheeler trailers all the way around the site to block the view, not to mention the hedge that you couldn't even get a ladder over. And then they put tarpaulins up to block that. Any available sight line into the property, they block it. You don't block it if you're not hiding something. And they're hiding something. They're putting, you know what goes into a construction dumpster.
Thank you, please. Let's keep it orderly.
You know what goes into a construction dumpster? And there ain't no way in the world they picking all that stuff out of that dumpster before they bury it. They work nights, weekends, holidays. They're out there running the bulldozers 24 hours. And they purchased 300 and something acres. It's going to be the biggest landfill in the world. And I'm going to be next door. I can't do anything. I don't have sour grapes about nothing. I just need y'all's help. If y'all don't stop these people, all we want them to do is keep doing what they're doing, cap that thing off, plant grass, put a cow on it, and let it go. Move on out to Byron. There's 50 acres. 50 acres out there. Nobody's complaining about nobody but down to Byron. They're building in the city. And it's affecting all of us. Thank y'all. I appreciate letting me go over my time. I don't talk that much.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
for letting me add my name to the list.
Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Mr. Don Kazari.
Mr. Kazari, good morning.
Good morning.
Before I start, I can't tell you everything, but I'm going to give it, to you in writing. I'll just be very brief, and so if you won't dock me for that time. Okay. Don Kazari Jr., and I live at 1470 South McRaven Road. As a citizen of Hinds County, living adjacent to this rubbish site, I stand before you seeking justice. It's puzzling that the Hinds County Board of Supervisors have recognized at the Madison-Bilberry landfill site the same negative issues we've experienced for our site with Faircloth. And the supervisors have attempted to defend the northern Hinds County residents. We're looking for you to defend us. Hinds County argues that the Bilberry landfill failed to consider the hardships that the proposed landfill will cause Hinds County. 3 points were noted. One, road maintenance costs. That's been mentioned. Second, there's a conflict with the comprehensive plan. And this plan, and by the way, I didn't mention, but the comprehensive plan, and then this case is with Hinds County and the Commission of Environmental Quality from last year, 2007. It's gone to the Supreme Court. But the comprehensive plan addresses environmental suitability for residential land uses. The plan states that the most incompatible uses be avoided at all costs. Sitting a refuge disposal site adjacent to extensive residential development of long-standing is incompatible use. The third item is the landfill will cause danger and hardship to the health and well-being. It's already been mentioned about the hundreds of violations and complaints over the years. There's no other landfill in the state of Mississippi, a Class 1, that's as strictly monitored as Faircloth. It's the only state that, the only site that has 5-year plan. Also, the 3 water monitoring wells. What does that say? They're going to have to burn off the methane gas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kazir, for your comments. Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Mr. Mark Brand.
Good morning. Good morning. May it please members of the board. My name is Mark Brand. I represent Bill DeVinny and Bruce DeVinny. The DeVinny family has lived in this area for 50 years. They have a significant development there, a significant investment into the community out there, and they join in with these landowners in opposing y'all approving this rezoning and expansion of this dump. As you know, directly across from the dump is the tax commission. If you watch the news, the tax commission has had numerous complaints about the dump. And there's a very great possibility that if you approve this, that the tax commission may leave that facility. That's 500 jobs that are people that work there every day. That's a pretty good significant impact to that community, to the community of Clinton, and to the area there. And we ask that you not approve this, that you do not. I think that you have to consider that these are hard economic times that we're in right now. Everybody that bought a house 20 years ago thought that that was their major investment, that they could depend on that for their value, their retirement, and all of those things. And now, because of economic times, their housing has been devalued. If you approve this, it's going to be a further devaluation of their homes in this community. There's just not any public need to expand this dump from what it is now. There's no point in risking the tax commission moving from out there and 500 jobs leaving Hinds County. It's a risk to the economic development of Hinds County. We ask that you deny this.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Brand. Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Good thing between Sean and me.
Mr. President, that concludes those names that are on the opposition list. However, the instructions that I had given to everybody at the beginning that it was 4 speakers to speak, and those that are in support of it only have 4 on their list, and they have raised an objection to the amount of time that was given to the 8 individuals that spoke on behalf of the opposition.
From the chair, I will allow them to have the same amount of time as we did the opposition. We want to be as fair as we possibly can as it relates to this particular issue. Continue, please.
The first person that those in support of Faircloth landfill rubbish will be Reverend Cliff Daniels, pastor of the local church there.
Okay.
How much time did they have there? 16 minutes?
16 minutes.
Pastor Daniels, 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Pastor Clifford Daniels Sr. I've been in the community at the church for 23 years. When I first came to the church, Mr. Faircloth welcomed me to the community. He was the only one came by and said, welcome. And from that time, being in the community, I have had a good neighborly relationship with those people, Faircloth. Hadn't had any problem. When I come out to church, I'm looking directly at shrubs along the fence line where they planted. We only can see the top of that, but I see shrubs. I hadn't had any problem. The people are real nice, kind to the people in the church. We had a member lived in Shadow Lake community. She was over our GED program. She lived in the community. She never once complained. And the reason why she left the community, her husband died, and she moved to Chicago. And her property bagged that property which Faircloth owns. But she never had a problem, never complained to me or anything. But I'm in favor. I wish that you would consider voting for them. They have been kind to our youth. We have a troubled youth program. They help, as well as this Clinton City Police Department that came and helped out. So I have had a nice working relationship with them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. McQuaid, continue.
Shambi Horde.
Next is Shambia Horde.
LaShambi.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is LaShambi Horde. I live at 1112 South McRaven Road, which is directly about 1,000 feet from the office of Faircloth. I have lived there since 2005. I don't exactly know what these people are talking about when they mention odors or smells. When I first moved there, my boys, both of them, were asthmatic, and I'd say about 2 years after that, I no longer had to give them any more medication or nebulizer treatments. That core division she was talking about on Spring Ridge Road, the first opposing speaker, there's a fence there. You can't see anything. Now, if anybody would like to see anything, they could come and stand in my driveway and look to the back. They might see dirt or trucks. That's about it. I don't have any complaints with the landfill whatsoever, so I don't understand what the complete opposition is. There's absolutely no household refuse or chemical rubbish disposed there. It's strictly checked over when it's taken in there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. McQuaid, continue, please.
Mark, you speaking? Attorney Joe Deaton speaking.
Good morning, members of the board.
Good morning.
My name is Joe Deaton. I'm here today on behalf of Faircloth. Faircloth operates a Class 1 rubbish disposal facility at the corner of South McRaven and Spring Ridge Road. I think this board is very familiar with us. We were here in 2008, and we asked this board to rezone that site next door to us, this area right here, at that time for the purpose of expansion. That was in October, I believe, of 2008, and this board did grant that request and did rezone that property. We're not asking to permit this 300 acres. We're asking to permit 29 acres right here with appropriate buffers as regulated by the DEQ for the purpose of the disposal of Class 1 material. We're already disposing Class 1 material in this site. By the way, this photograph was made in 1972. And at that time, you can see there weren't any subdivisions. Right there is where the tax commission is now, but it wasn't there then. But look right here. That's our site. As of 1972, that site was a commercial operation. I don't see the tax commission. Reverend Daniel's church is there. It's right here, and it's in the picture. Miss Howard's house is there. It's right here, and it's in the picture. But that's what was there in 1972. So this site operated as a commercial business since before 1972. Though what happened to the surrounding land has happened since then. So when they come up and say we didn't know, they had to know. There it is, 1972 photograph. We have operated our business as a good corporate citizen. In 2008, we were before this board. This board granted our request for rezoning for the purpose of expansion. Since that time, we've had a hearing before the DEQ. And I appreciate the opposition pointing out we are the most regulated Class 1 facility in the state. And guess what? We've not had one single abnormal test result. We've been asked to soil test. We've been asked to air test. We've been asked to water test. We spent $200,000 in Hinds County, Mississippi, conducting those tests. Not one of them was abnormal. Not only that, the DEQ inspects us on a regular basis. They talk about hundreds of violations. I heard Ms. Kazari stand up here and say hundreds of violations. Hundreds of complaints are not the same thing as hundreds of violations. It don't take 4 or 5 people to make hundreds of complaints if they dial the phone 4 or 5 times a day every day. The real truth of the matter is there have been 3 times we were cited for violations. None of them resulted in a finding. All of them were successfully negotiated and compromised. When they say we paid a fine, we didn't pay a fine. Go read the DEQ agreed order. It says without any admission of liability whatsoever, so that we can resolve the issues between us, we agreed to negotiate and compromise. That's the basis of our judicial system, is negotiation and compromise. But what that does is that conclusively shows there was no finding of any violation. So to stand here and tell y'all that we're guilty of some violation is just a mischaracterization of the facts. And let's not let the facts get in the way of a good story. We've been a good corporate citizen. We pay taxes.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure through the board president if additional time is being given.
I'm the last speaker, Mr. President.
Okay, I'm going to give you the same amount of time as we did. I want to be as fair as we possibly can.
It's past 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. You need to wrap it up to where we can keep it on schedule.
I would ask that since we only had 3 speakers and they had a total of 16 minutes and my first 2 speakers took 4, that I be given 12 minutes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
If that's enough time, does that equal the time out?
He had 2 minutes so far, so yes, about 12 more minutes.
Mr. President.
Well,
Mr. President, I think in terms of time, I understand if we don't have any other people that want to speak as the other side did, I think 12 minutes is it's too much time. That's overkill.
Okay.
I would hope we'll give him a little more time to close it out. He can get some people, 3 or 4 more people to speak.
Okay.
If he would like to do that. But, I think everybody's point's been made. I think it's just about ready to go.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll let him wrap it up and then we'll go from there. Just go ahead.
I just wanted to point out to the board that we pay taxes. We pay ad valorem taxes. We pay property tax. We pay personal property tax. We buy car tax. Not only that, we spend money in Hinds County, Mississippi. Everybody here in support of landfill, stand up. See all these people? All these people, in one way or another, have their living directly affected by the operation of this landfill. And it is essential that we build out to expand in order to continue to provide the service we provide to Hinds County, Mississippi, and in order that you'll be in compliance with your plan. I would note for purposes of the record that this is an appeal from a planning commission recommendation. The recommendation actually was not to allow the expansion, but it was based on the fact that there was opposition. There was not any legally cognizable reason articulated for that recommendation, so I will present to the board that they have the opportunity to invalidate that recommendation. Secondly, in 2007, this board adopted a plan from Neil Schaefer that said that Hinds County, Mississippi uses Faircloth for disposal of this Class 1 debris, and Hinds County, Mississippi should be authorized and allowed to expand. That's a decision adopted by this board in 2007 in regard to the 20-year solid waste disposal plan. That board, that plan...
You can have everyone sit down if you'd like.
Okay. Sorry about that. That plan was adopted by this board and was ratified by the mayor of the town of Clinton, Mayor Raymond, Learned, Utica, Terry. Byron wasn't a town then, and it was endorsed by them. And the very finding of this board was endorsed by them. We would submit to the board that we should be allowed to have conditional use to expand this property, and the solid waste plan should be amended to include this additional 29 acres.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Okay, Mr. McQuarrie, you said it.
Mr. Mark Hartman.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mark Hartman. I'm one of the owners of Faircloth. I'm the general manager there. I've heard a lot of negative things said about that business, and I just want this board to know from the bottom of my heart. People have stated that we're not a legitimate business, that we're greedy, that we're harming the community, that we're harmful to the community, that the property values have gone down, all these things. But I just want to say, as a business owner, as a person, and as the owner of this business, that we have done testing after testing after testing on this facility to be dead gum sure that we are not harmful to this community. I love my family as much as anybody in this building loves their family. My wife works there. My kids have worked there part-time while they were going to school. And I wouldn't hurt any of them. And I can look you in the eye and I can sleep at night and I can tell you that we're not harmful to this area. And the second thing I want to tell you is in 2000 I sold my house, took my kids out of private school and moved into a good public school system, bought a piece of junk trailer and moved my family to it, started this business. And I worked my butt off. Now, this business is legal, it's legitimate, it's needed, there ain't no doubt in this world it's needed, and this board needs to approve it.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. McQuarrie said it. I think we have one more person, and then that's it.
I have one more honor.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Tim Hartman, and I'm also one of the owners of Faircloth. I just wanted to make sure that economic impact was brought up, negative economic impact. And I want you to know how negative it would be if we weren't able to continue to operate. There's quite a few people that stood up a while ago that worked for this operation. These people that are against us moved in next door to this operation with their eyes wide open. If they didn't like the environment, they should not have moved in. But the bottom line is that we have people that work there, that benefit the county. If we weren't bringing waste in to Faircloth, they would be taking it somewhere else. They talk about City of Jackson having 50 acres. Well, you know what? On their reports to the DEQ, they don't report any capacity left, which tells me it's not Faircloth, some other county. So if we take our waste to some other county, the average cost per truck may be $100 a piece. You think about how many loads you have bringing in. City of Clinton just brought in 100 loads within the last month. When we had Katrina, it would be incredible extra expense that we would have as a result of carrying waste to another county. And not only when the waste goes to the other county, so the jobs. And with the jobs, the people buy groceries and do their other stuff there. So I would just ask you to consider those things and please vote in our favor.
Thank you very much for those comments, Mr. Parsons. Thank you, Mr. McQuater. We appreciate all the comments from everyone. What I'd like to do at this particular point is to hear from members of the board, starting with Mrs. Calvin. Mrs. Calvin.
Yes, I have a question. For the citizens that stood in support of the landfill, will you raise your hand if you live in the area of the landfill?
I live like 2 streets over. I live 1,000 feet away from it.
2.
For the citizens that stood in support of the landfill, will you raise your hands if you work for the landfill? May I ask, for the citizens that are in support of the landfill, what is your interest? Yes, ma'am.
We're part of the Parkman Investment Group, and where he goes, we go. So if he decides to move out of Hinds County, so do we. And that takes all of your tax money on sales taxes and such that is now being generated by all of these people who have a yes sign on them, that takes it out of this county. And I don't know about anybody else in here, but I'm not commuting. I'm just going to move to another county.
Thank you.
I live like 2 streets over from the landfill. The apartments are friends of ours. However, we've used the dump site, and as a friend, we're told restriction. There's no oil to be distributed, no household garbage, only limbs and things that can be turned over correctly.
Thank you.
Ms. Calvin, any more comments? Okay. Mr. Anderson, any comments?
No.
Okay. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to say I never met Mr. Beaton, I think his name, an attorney. I've seen Russell Hardin and actually Mr. Dean was good and Mr. Brand was good. And I've heard all sides. I recall I had a phone call from one of the ministers, and I'm going to respect what the ministers say a lot more than others because he's a man of God. And I see Benjamin Graves, someone who I pray with, who I think a lot of in here. So, I heard a lot of good things, and I told everybody on both sides, I'm going to try to keep open mind before I make my vote. Issue that I think the departments made was that the landfill was there for the residents moved there, which is a good issue, I think. Now, in terms of my vote, I like to side with citizens. If those citizens say they don't want the expansion, then, unless something change, my vote normally going to be don't approve the expansion. And let me tell you, I live near a railroad track, and the railroad was there before we moved there. And we had to deal with that noise. We had to deal with school buses can't get to school, cost of the trains and everything else. My mind is not made up completely because I've heard some good points on all sides. I think some of them have been overkill, but I don't hope that I'm going to be the swing vote in this. So I don't think it's going to make that much difference one way or the other. But I do think that some very good points were made. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stokes. Mr. Fisher?
Well, this issue falls squarely in District 4. People on both sides of the issue, whether they live there, they work there, they own property there, they've made investments there, they govern there, it all falls in District 4. And I can assure you that this has been an issue that has been on my mind and paramount in my mind since I took office, and it became an issue in 2008 in October, and it was something that we had to look at and to address. During that time, I have thought greatly and long about this. I recognize that there are emotional issues here, financial issues here, but at the end of the day, we have to make a decision based on what the policies of this board are and what the policies of this board have been. I've sat in my office with different ones of you on both sides of this issue and talked about it. And I've asked you for a legal reason to deny. And I've not gotten a legal reason to deny. I was told that if you would show us a time when there was a public hearing on this matter, that we would walk away from it, figuring we just missed our chance to have our say. So, all that's left now, and it's the part I'm going to be most interested in, is just let me just kind of go through the history here with you. In 2007, there was a public hearing held in this room. I was not a member of the board. Mr. Graham was not a member of the board. Mr. Stokes was not a member of the board. Ms. Calhoun and Mr. Anderson was. April 16, 2007. I'm just going to start here from the second paragraph. Ms. Black, who is a representative of Neil Schaefer, recommended that Hinds County continue to use contracted services. The current landfills used by Hinds County have approximately 20 years of useful life remaining. Additionally, due to the unincorporated and incorporated areas in Hinds County that have solid waste, the county could not support its own landfill at this time. For rubbish facilities, Hinds County uses Faircloth. Hinds County will need to allow this to be expanded or use a private facility. And it goes on, there's general discussion. It's all public record. It's in the minutes. April 16, 2007. The last sentence. The floor was open for public comments regarding this matter. There were no comments. So you move forward now to May 21st of 2007. Upon a motion of Charles Barber, a second by George Smith, Peggy Hobson Calhoun voting yes, Ronnie Chappell voting yes, Doug Anderson voting yes, resolved to approve the revised local solid waste plan, the 20-year plan. Now, all of that was done in open meeting, properly noted, properly advertised, whatever the law requires for it to be done. All of that was done at that time. In support of that document, I have letters here from Roderick N. Nicholson, the mayor of Terry, Charles E. Stokes, at that time, the mayor of Utica, Alpha Tullis, the mayor of Raymond, the town of Edwards, Mayor Perkins, and the town of Bolton, Mayor Lawrence Butler, as well as from the city of Clinton, Mayor Altman. All of these letters read basically the same. The city of Clinton, or Bolton, or Terry, or Edwards, whatever it is, intends to continue its participation in the Hinds County Solid Waste Plan. This is the plan that was said in the meeting. Was a 20-year plan. It said we needed to expand the facility. 2 members sitting on this board voted for that plan, with nobody else in the room here, I guess, to look at them, and voted in support of that 20-year plan. As a side note, the city of Clinton sent 451 trucks into that facility in 2011, and to date, in 2012, 588 trucks. I'm sorry, is it? Okay. Those are the numbers. It's just strictly the numbers. So, I can't find a legal reason to do this. And I know that it doesn't matter which side I vote on. I'm going to be moved both ways. I got that. But at the end of the day, you have to have something that stands on some sort of legal precedent, and nobody has offered that to me. So, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Faircloth's landfill.
Okay.
Can we have a point of order?
No, not at this
To make the record clear here, the record needs to be clear. And
John, 1 second. I have not recognized you yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Without objection from the board, Ms. Chris, I will recognize him if Mr. Bishop, that's okay with you, as it relates to.
That's fine. This isn't a court of law. Well, go ahead.
Within the discretion of the board.
It's within my discretion, but okay. Come to the podium. But now, I don't want to open up this for everybody to start all over again. I think that we will make a vote after this. It has to be on a point of order.
It is on a point of order. All I wanted to know was whether those notices had been sent to the people that own land in and around the facility of the landfill for the 2007 meeting that Supervisor Fisher is referring to.
Thank you for the point of order. You have a point of order as well.
Mr. Chairman, we just object to that. The board minutes are what the board minutes are, and they're conclusive in and of themselves. and there are the best evidence of what happened at that point in time. That's why they keep minutes. So we object to the point of order raised by Mr. Brand.
Thank you very much.
Just to settle on that, the board speaks through its minutes through the legal channel. I wasn't on the board then. I know that we had attorneys then. I know that we are as regulated on our actions and what we do or don't do as anyone else. Probably more so because we're a government agency by the state auditor, the state ethics commission, statute, and various other state laws. So whatever the requirements are for a notification of this point, of this type, I'm sure that the county did so. To my knowledge, we have done so since I've been on the board in 2008 in the legally required way.
Okay. Again, Mr. Fisher, if you would, just for the record, would you please state your motion?
I move for approval of the Faircloth Landfill conditional use.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any additional discussion from any board members?
Discussion, Mr. President.
Discussion?
Thank you. Reverend McQuaid, on our agenda now, let's make sure we on the same page. We're on number 2A.
Yes, sir. 2A, conditional use permit, expanding Faircloth rubbish facility.
Okay, we're going to expand how much? 29 acres?
29.2328 acres.
Mr. Stokes was in the room and he clarified.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's have any other comments, please, from the audience, because we're in the process of negotiating or.
Mr. President, it might be too late for me to win, but I'm hoping that I think Mayor Altman made some suggestions that if it is approved, certain things that things, and I don't know if she's still in the room, what those suggestions were, and I don't know what it is.
I think they referred to screening, and as far as I know right now, the screening is in effect. It's going on. The bushes are around and all that kind of stuff.
Just for the record, let's make sure that, I think they're saying it have to be done, Mr. Parkman. Do y'all commit to do it if it is approved, those things? So you can come to the mic so we can give a chance to say.
Excuse me. Yes, sir, just to clarify that, we have implemented a beautification program around Faircloth. Part of that is several people have mentioned we've planted hundreds of Elaeagnus bushes, and they're now standing over head high. And around a nice cyclone fence, we've also planted hundreds of Leland cypress trees that will grow and pine trees on the inside that will grow. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, man. Is that the, I know you said, I did write it down, you were saying if it is approved that you would hope that certain things would happen, and they say they're planning things, what are the things you said that if it was approved that you hope would happen?
I just said that a conditional use, you can put conditions on this as to what they have to do, and part of it would be to a beautification program or some type of planning, screening, so that it couldn't be seen. The front of the building, particularly on Spring Ridge Road, where it can't be seen. Now, they have done some planning, but it's not anywhere where it needs to be if that facility continues to operate there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes, Mr. President. I'm going to say this. The residents of the area, the majority of the residents that are here this morning have spoken clearly. No landfill for the people or by the people, as was mentioned earlier. Early on, when I voted in favor of the landfill, I voted at the time because there was no opposition. There were very few residents that live in the area. The situation has changed. There are people living in the area. Hundreds of people living in the area. Subdivisions are being developed around the area, and that represents new growth. It represents development, economic development for Hinds County. This morning, I will not vote in favor of the landfill. I will vote in opposition of the landfill for the people, by the people that live in the area.
All right. As chairman, I will reserve all comments. It's been moved and properly second. Mr. Fisher's motion. All those in favor of?
Mr. President, before we take the final vote, just for the record, Mr. President, this vote is a hard vote for me because I think number one, the supervisor of that area should, his opinion should be respected because he's the one who live in that area. He's the one who run out that area. He's the one who should know the people in that area. So it's hard in that manner. In terms of the people that oppose this business, and again, I want to be business friendly, and it just put a bad taste in my mouth that the business was there for the people, and yet the people are against the business expanding. And, you know, it just seemed wrong. It seemed wrong to me. However, I have to vote in favor of the citizens because, you know, citizens have to be respected. And a lot of these citizens that speaking today are, and I don't mean in a negative way, but some of them are elderly. And this is their last shot in terms of home ownership and grandchildren and the people who will come visit them. My concern is that if these citizens want to live in Hines County, and they like living in Hines County, we shouldn't do anything to try to uproot them, so to speak. And that's got to be my vote. That's how I would want to be regarded if I was coming in here on this issue. The issue got to be what's best for the citizens of Hines County. So I join Supervisor Calhoun and oppose it. Thank you.
Mr. Graham. Okay. Excuse me, sir. We're not going to allow any more comments. We're in the process of voting. No, not at this point. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
No.
No. Motion is denied. Do not order. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'd like to continue with the printed agenda.
There are some people here who are interested in another zoning issue down the street on the south. Afraid that we could answer that.
We'll take a couple of minutes.
Hang on, we ain't done.
We got Kenny to say.
God be the glory.
Don't believe all further.
Everybody leave quietly if you're about to leave. Actually leave quietly out the door if you're about to leave.